Good evening and welcome to Insight Tonight. Like I said earlier, tonight we are blessed to have the Honorable Martha Karua with us tonight. She is a household name in Kenya. No stranger to the political field, an outstanding politician and legislator, a former minister in her own right in the dockets of water management as well as justice and constitutional affairs, an alumni in the struggle of multi-party democracy and a prominent member of the opposition political movements. Outspoken and principled are words that have been used to describe her. Tonight, we welcome to the home of untold stories, the Honorable Martha Karua. Karibu, madam. Good evening.
Asante. Evening, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and it's wonderful to connect with you tonight. I suppose Kenyans want to know, from where you sit, from your perspective, what times are we living in as a country?
I think very trying times. We have seen the abandonment of the rule of law. We have seen death squads deployed to kill, maim, and injure peaceful demonstrators. We have seen arbitrary arrests, abductions, and all manner of intimidation against those who dare express their views or stand up for civil liberties. We have seen the government repurposed to benefit the ruling elite to the detriment of citizens. So these are trying times.
Right. Thank you so much for that. Now, would you care to tell us, how did we get here? Somebody might be sitting and wondering, and you've been in the political space for quite a while. You've got quite a view, hindsight as well as foresight. How did we get here?
I think that we let go our agency. We became busy and forgot that governance is the business of every citizen, that pushing the bar of accountability is the business of every citizen. It is only recently that the Gen Z have restored our collective agency as a people. And now we remember our civic duty to demand for accountability. This is something we have to do every day, every hour. Eternal vigilance. That's where we dropped the ball. We forgot that it's something we have to do continuously to ensure that those elected, those put in positions of authority, serve the people in accordance with the Constitution and the laws made thereunder, and that the rule of law, transparency, and accountability are not abandoned in our country.
All right, madam. Now, let's review some headlines. Over the last few weeks, some buzzwords have emerged. Please tell me what these words mean to you. First, talk about the Gen Z protests. What were your impressions? What are your lessons? And any resolutions, personally, that have emerged from that? The Gen Z protests.
For me, it's something that sounds familiar, that reminds me of yesteryears when we were protesting and demanding for accountability and adherence to the rule of law during the Moi era, during the second liberation. It is very pleasing and an exciting time to see young people, young, knowledgeable, patriotic Kenyans standing up to the authorities and demanding accountability. in a way, speaking truth to power, that you have failed us, you are not steering the nation in the manner envisaged by the Constitution. And that is why I'm saying that the Gen Z have restored our collective agency, our collective voice, questioning the leaders in place and asking for accountability. And the journey is not over. It has just begun.
Right.
Reminding every Kenyan, this is your duty, this is my duty. It's not just the duty of the Gen Z.
Right, right. Thank you. And on that note, there are those who feel that the moment may be lost, that the moment may be hijacked by other forces, opportunists and others. Would you agree?
Yes, I would. The political class has attempted and somewhat hijacked this. When a statement was made that we have decided to have dialogue, that signaled the hijack or attempt to hijack. The demands were not by the political class this time. We had our time, 2023, when as Azimio, we went to the streets demanding for accountability, demanding for lowering of the cost of living, demanding for an audit of the 2022 elections, among many other things. We agreed to negotiations, and the NADCO talks were born. High on the agenda was cost of living, which we agreed was the deal breaker. But we really never kept our eyes on the ball. The talks concluded without any word on the cost of living. And now the 2024 finance bill was actually making the situation worse, not any better. So we had our chance. We cannot therefore purport to answer when the Gen Z call for accountability. We say we have decided to talk. That in a way is a hijack. And I don't think we have seen the last of the Gen Z.
All right, we'll give you a moment right there as you... But here's another question, and it's emerging once again from some of the headlines that have, been seen across the nation in the last few weeks. We've seen a cabinet reshuffle 2 times in 2 parts, maybe even 3, and we've seen another term, another buzzword come across our headlines, which is broad-based government. Where do you stand on this? What are your views?
It's an unconstitutional creation. It's generally a coalition between the Kenya Kwanza government and ODM. That is what they are calling broad-based. But it is made outside of the law. Coalitions are governed by the Political Parties Act. They are not a come-we-stay union. They have to be formalized through a post-election coalition agreement. Although the ODM is saying that the 4, now 5 people appointed to government have done so as individuals, we saw Raila, the party leader, saying we have decided to talk. We saw the parliamentary group of ODM, dubbed Azimio, in which Kalonzo Musyoka was interrupted by men in black while reading a statement. We had the resolutions of the party deciding to cooperate with the government. So we have seen appointments of the top officials of the party, 2 vice chairpersons. We have seen the appointment of the chairman of the party. We have seen a lady senior official being appointed and their minority leader in parliament. We can't be told that they just walked. Like I've said, for all purposes, is an unofficial coalition which goes against the letter and spirit of the Constitution. The Constitution is very clear that there will be a majority party and a minority party. Azimio has been playing the role of the minority party, led by ODM. And it's ODM members who have occupied the position of minority leader, both in the National Assembly and in the Senate. When ODM unofficially walks into government, they actually offend the Constitution because they are purporting that they are still in opposition, continuing to hold the positions of minority leader in both houses, meaning that as partners in government with KK, they will purport to audit themselves. The standing orders of Parliament, which mirror the Constitution, clearly stipulate that certain oversight committees, watchdog committees, will be chaired by persons in the parties in opposition, mainly the largest party in opposition or a coalition. Therefore, it is Azimio members, mainly ODM members, who have been chairing public accounts, public investments. Both have several committees, watchdog committees. If ODM, like it has failed to formalize their relationship with KK, if the members now being vetted become members of government, look at a situation where Bandi in Treasury is being audited by an ODM member chairing the Public Accounts Committee. That offends the Constitution. The government cannot lead oversighting itself. That is weakening the accountability measures. And remember, the Gen Z were on the streets clearly seeking accountability, transparency and accountability. This will increase opaqueness, offend the checks and balances in the Constitution and weaken them. It is an unholy alliance, but the law does permit them to be formal and go into a coalition that would leave the position of minority leader open to the next largest party, which would be Wiper at that time. And then Kenyans would have truly people who are outside of government oversighting government. I think this is something we have to be careful about, and I am hoping that this is going to be challenged in a court of law because it is unconstitutional, it's anti the people, it's anti-democracy. And we have seen desecration of the Constitution continuously in the Ruto administration. And now it's with aiding and abetting of one of the parties that has previously led in accountability. This is a setback for Kenya.
Right, right. Now, let's talk Azimio for a second. Anyone looking at the recent comments from you and the optics from the other partners in Azimio may be led to believe that the dream is over. Would you agree?
For Narc Kenya, it's over. We gave our notice to withdraw, and that was a notice given pursuant to a resolution of the National Executive. We said that the moment all these things are happening, the moment as opposition we start aiding and abetting in desecrating the Constitution, then there isn't much of what bound us together. So for us, it's the end. For the others, let every party speak for itself.
All right. All right. But one would argue, and perhaps you can address this, that while assuming ODM is compromised, as you say, there's still other members, other parties, other partners in Azimio. Is there a rift between Narc Kenya and them as well? Or is there an opportunity to come together and formulate yet another organization? Keeping Azimio alive, so to speak.
We are out of Azimio. What we see for now and what we can speak of is that we have expressed our desire not to be part of Azimio, and that we started pulling apart a while ago. You remember Narc Kenya rejected the NADCO report. Eugene Wamalwa and his DAPK party also rejected NADCO, and Wamalwa refused to sign. But we can't speak for them. For us as Narc Kenya, since that time, we have felt the distance between us and our coalition partners, and the straw that broke the camel's back is the recent dalliance with the KK regime, which we are supposed to be oversighting. So, and which we had clearly said we did not recognize. And our partners went ahead and started recognizing them. So for us, it's over. It's building of the party. We had agreed, even as Azimio, that each party in January this year should embark on building themselves, because the strength of the constituent parties is the strength of the coalition. Even outside of the coalition, we will strengthen ourselves. That doesn't mean that if need be in future, we cannot be part of a coalition. But for now, it's over.
All right. And I'll revisit that bit in a second. But before we let go of the Azimio matter, they say we look forward. Before we do that, let's look back in a bit. Many say the decision for you and your organization to join Azimio was a tough one for you, but yet you did. But what are your biggest regrets and lessons, if any, from your time in Azimio?
I have no regrets about joining Azimio. We weighed the options carefully, and like I said, there was baggage on both sides, but we were looking for where there were enough allies with whom we could be able to build a government that will work for the people. And therefore we consciously chose Azimio, knowing that it is a work in progress. Our dream didn't come to reality. We have worked well since the elections. You saw us being part and parcel of Azimio the whole of last year. But from the time from July, when the talks began, little cracks, efforts to repair, and eventually we are now out. And I think that's life. Yeah.
All right. I believe the Gen Z would tell you it's kuoga na kurudi soko. Now, Madam, let's talk about the future. Let's talk about transitions here. Talk to us about what we should expect from you as Honorable Karua and the party that is Narc Kenya. Of course, the Secretary General of the coalition, that is Mr. Mohammed, says you need to serve 3 months' notice before exiting the coalition. Talk to us about this transition. What can Kenyans expect from you and the party as a transition?
The moment we give notice means that we have walked away. So although the formal withdrawal will be in 3 months, we have given intention that we don't feel part of them. It's like a divorce. A decree nisi, you are already apart. In 3 months, it becomes absolute. That's what it is. So we already are not part of Azimio in spirit. Technically, we can be said to be, but we have shouted out to the world that we no longer believe in that coalition. We are opposition, however, and the people who remain in the coalition are known to us, remain our friends, and those who are in opposition, not just by saying, but by deed, we may still find occasion to stand together in certain matters, but not as part of the coalition.
All right, all right. Now, Kenya is a very historic party. Even the name itself harkens to those glory days of the early 2000s, the National Rainbow Coalition of Kenya, the heyday of hope and the dreams of a new Kenya that you were part of. Mwenge, as they used to say. And now we have a question. What's going to be the new face of Narc Kenya going forward? What should Kenyans expect from you?
Watch this space. We've been in the process and we are still in the process of rebranding. I will not tell you how we will look like, but we definitely, in the coming month or two, will be rebranding. And from there, you will notice several changes, but not change in direction of working for the people. We remain a people-centered party whose ideals are informed by looking at things through the lens of social justice, of upholding people's liberties and people's rights, and fighting against corruption, because you can't serve the people without fighting corruption. So we will continue to champion those rights. But we are rebranding, we are renewing ourselves.
All right, madam. Now, we have some questions from some of our viewers, some of the questions that actually came in before and others are coming in right now. Here's one of them. Madam, why is it looking like it's so hard to find people to work with, people of integrity or people of principle to work with in the political space? Is the game too dirty for the likes of you?
Let me say this, it's not difficult to find people who others can work with. But I want us to remember why are political parties formed? They're formed to seek power, not to seek partnership with other parties. You seek partnership as plan B. Plan A, seek the people. Narc Kenya was formed, like all parties, to seek power. For now, we are talking of seeking the people. Seeking other parties is a plan B. We haven't reached plan B yet. So we are on the march to seek the people.
All right, here's another question. What will become of the Limuru 3 and the Mount Kenya question? You've been vocal about this. Where do you stand on this going forward?
Limuru 3 was a great occasion. Mount Kenya was under lock and key politically. Psychologically, people were under lock and key. It's like they couldn't come out, they couldn't complain. They had elected this government and they were feeling, I don't know whether fear or had lost their agency. Limuru 3 made them realize that they can come out physically, because they left wherever, all the corners of Mount Kenya and came to Limuru. They spoke out and they left as people clothed with their agency to question the government, to review their status. And you have seen during the Gen Z protests, Mount Kenya has been part of Kenya. So Limuru 3 achieved its purpose. And we shall continue looking to strengthen the unity of purpose within Mount Kenya and within Kenya, because strengthening any part of Kenya is strengthening the whole. Kenya is made of 47 counties, of over 44 communities, and strengthening any of those or a group of those is strengthening Kenya.
All right, all right. One of our viewers is wondering, ask Madam Karua, what position is she and her party going to go for?
I consider that a distraction. I've already said parties are formed to seek power. Narc Kenya said last year, and it still holds true, that it will field candidates for all the positions. But at this particular moment, when there is a push in the country led by our youth, the Gen Z, to seek for accountability in government, starting to talk of dreams of 2027 is a diversion from the immediate. We should be asking, have the demands of the Gen Z, which are in black and white in social media, the demands of accountability been met? Has Ruto heeded to the call of the Gen Z? And I'll begin by saying the killings are going on. Abductions are going on. No apologies for the deaths. Parents are still searching for their loved ones. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights tells us 66 people dead, confirmed dead. Over 50 missing. And more than 50 bodies unidentified in the mortuary in Nairobi. Falsifications of records in the mortuary, entering someone with a gunshot wound as a person who died of a traffic accident. We should be talking about seeking justice, which are some of the demands of the Gen Z, and seeking accountability, giving us the same cabinet that had been dismissed. Is that lifting the bar of accountability? Or is it President Ruto telling the people that it is my way, it is his way or the highway? When Kithure Kindiki, professor, tells the vetting team that the police have a choice to kill or not kill during demonstrations, no reference to the sanctity of life in the Constitution, no reference that police have to use commensurate force in all circumstances, and therefore shooting a peaceful, unarmed demonstrator is criminal. When he fails to tell us that, does he demonstrate that he is fit for that office? Is Ruto himself fit for office? By affirming criminal acts by the police and by not apologizing. These really are the questions of the day, not the positions people wish to hold. Why the Gen Z have been successful in their togetherness and demonstrations is because what is dear to them is the values, our foundational values in the constitutions, values of transparency and accountability, values of right to life and all human rights, and other values.
Right.
They are pushing for a reset button where Kenya is governed in accordance with the Constitution. They were not seeking to put anybody in power. They are not seeking power themselves.
Right.
I think this is a lesson. As a nation, let us focus more on what binds us as we push the accountability bar higher.
All
a
right.
time for elections will come, and we then shall concentrate on that.
All right. Speaking of elections, there's a question here from a viewer who is also a young politician. And she asks, and I quote, this is Wanjohi Njoroge, she asks, running for office as a young woman in 2022, I faced significant challenges including sexual harassment, the sale of my party ticket, and the prohibitive costs for hiring agents to guard my votes. Given your extensive political career and the systemic hurdles you've encountered, how have you effectively raised funds for your campaign? I think that's the first question. And the second is, what strategies have you employed to navigate and beat a political system that often works against candidates who challenge the status quo? This is a question from a viewer who's also a young upcoming politician, and I believe a question in the hearts of many young upcoming politically active Kenyans. What's your answer to that, madam?
Thank you for that question, and I'd like to say congratulations to the young lady for putting her foot forward, because many people feel the call but fear and hesitate to put their foot forward. I faced similar hurdles to you years ago, and those hurdles still are there even today. I had to shift from my original party to the Democratic Party when I was rigged out of party elections. Nominations for the general elections were near. I realized I'll be similarly rigged, so I decamped and went to the Democratic Party, where the elections were as organized as Mwai Kibaki was, and where I emerged the winner, met the person in whose favor the first party had rigged, and I was able to trounce them. So you have to think there is no rule book. Every situation, look around and make a quick decision on what to do next. Remaining in a party that is oppressive to you may cost you your chance of vying, your chance of being elected. And many people, once they are disappointed the first time, withdraw. I would urge you not to withdraw. We can overcome those hurdles, and you will surely overcome. There are many things I could tell you which cannot fit here, but I have shared my journey through the CTA. I have shared my journey in a book that will be coming soon, and I'm available to talk to you and to share my experiences with you if need be.
All right, thank you for that. Young people, I hope you're paying attention to that. There's the CTA Conversations by Richard Njau on YouTube. Go ahead and follow that. And you know you heard it first from TV47. Here's a final question, perhaps, from another viewer. Josephine Wawira asks, from a political and governance standpoint, is Kenya redeemable? She goes ahead to ask, is there goodwill from the older generations to leave the stage for the younger? And finally, or is it always going to be a battlefield?
Kenya is redeemable. We cannot afford to give up on it. It is our home. It is not like a wardrobe, which you can change. This is our home. We've got to fight for our space. About us, the older generation, leaving the space to the young, it won't happen. Space is never given, it is taken. Stand up, come compete with me. Take my space. I competed, took the space of an old guard. Come and do that. Parliament and leadership will always be a space for the family. So there'll be the young, there'll be the middle-aged, and there'll be some of the old. But one would like to see more younger faces. Younger faces do not always guarantee good governance. We have younger faces in this hopeless parliament. In fact, it is the youngest parliament. The parliament I went to, at 35, I looked like a baby because it was of octogenarians. Look at a young, educated parliament letting us down. So it's not about the age. It's about the values you stand for. It's about whether you are committed to serve the people and not yourself. So let us look for leadership that mirrors Chapter 6 of the Constitution, where as Kenyans we agreed these are the leadership qualities we should look for in a leader.
All right, Madam, thank you so much for your comments this evening. Thank you for joining us on Insight tonight. We certainly hope you'll come back again, and we wish you well on all your endeavors. And as the Honorable Martha Karua said, watch this space. More is coming, and you shall see it here on the home of Untold Stories. Thank you, Madam. Good evening. May God bless you.
Asante sana.
Thank you.